Great. In the essence of time, it is now 2 p.m. and thank you, Paris, so much for the brief, though complicated overview. Again, please feel free to reach out, info@cnma.org, or Paris had her personal email listed if you have any other questions, and please volunteer. Moving on, we have a wonderful presentation from our mentoring and belonging team. Kim, are you present and ready?
I'm present. I'm hoping I'm ready. Thank you for having us. I'm going to just take a moment, if you'll bear with me, and make sure that I can share my slides all right. And for those of you on our mentoring and belonging team, feel free to turn your cameras on. We're all presenting virtually today. So one moment and I'll start the share screen. Okay, great. I think we're ready to start. My name is Kim Doe. I'm a midwife at San Francisco General, and I also direct the midwifery education program at UC San Francisco. And I have a wonderful team that's here to help me present today, and I'll do their introduction in just a moment. We wanted to bring to this group, we've been presenting in some smaller spaces, but are really excited to get the word out about our relatively new mentoring and belonging program that we started at UCSF this past year and are starting to ramp up. For our objectives today, we're going to be looking briefly at some of the diverse history of midwifery in California and current demographics. We want to walk through the imperative for diversifying the midwifery workforce, and then share a bit about what we do with the mentoring and belonging program, what our goals are, what we're trying to achieve, and then of course ways that you as our colleagues in midwifery can get involved and support us to continue growing and expanding. And so for our team, and again, what a beautiful team. We are housed both at UCSF and Cal State Fullerton. We're going to have a chance to hear from everybody, both during the presentation and a panel in the second half. But I'd like to introduce Lottie Kodam Karasani. She's our project coordinator for this program and has been with me since day one in leading the effort. Maritza Franke is a student midwife and has been contributing to our newsletters and our excellent guidebook. Marshana Sparks is also a student midwife, and she is our social media specialist, tripling the number of sites where we can be found online and hopefully making our presence and voice day to day stronger and stronger. Asmara Gebre is a midwife on faculty at UCSF and has been my co-lead locally here. She also brings in great leadership experience through the BIPOC Aspiring Midwives program, which has lent a lot of expertise and background in what we've developed. And then last but not least, Dr. Angela Sojobi, the program director at Cal State Fullerton, who has just recently joined our team as we're expanding the program at Cal State Fullerton. So what is the Midwifery Mentoring and Belonging Program? We have two key goals with this program. One, providing mentorship and growing BIPOC community. So for the mentorship aspect, we are trying to pair both the UC San Francisco and Cal State Fullerton BIPOC identified midwifery students with BIPOC midwives in the community. And you may have seen, we put out an advertisement back in September, recruiting mentors, and we use those applications to make sure that we're making the strongest pairs for the students and mentors. The mentors are intentionally not members of the faculty, and ideally not somebody that the student will be working with as a preceptor during their program. We're really trying to create a source of support external to that evaluative process of learning. It, for obvious reasons, will create hopefully stronger avenues for open communication and feedback. The other thing to note about our program is that our goal is to have this be inclusive of licensed midwives in California. So we want to be expanding into students who are studying to be licensed midwives. And our mentor pool is already inclusive of licensed midwives that identify as BIPOC. So we have both nurse midwives and licensed midwives serving as mentors. The mentors meet monthly for one-to-one conversations, and they also have quarterly mentorship skills enrichment through workshops that we are developing in partnership with the UCSF Office for Career and Professional Development. And the purpose of this is both to support the mentors in learning the practical skills of mentoring and helping to guide their relationship with their new mentee. But it's also a space where we've invited the mentees, and we're trying to develop other ways for the groups to, for the pairs to deepen their learning together in having the most effective mentoring relationship. And then finally, the last component that we're really building out is an example of something that the BIPOC Aspiring Midwives program had implemented and that we're going to be adopting. This is a monthly, more informal group mentoring session through what we're calling MMB Real Talk, where a mentor will meet informally for an hour monthly to talk to the BIPOC midwifery students about a topic of their choosing. This is something that's new, and I think can help deepen that sense of networking and information sharing within the BIPOC community that we're really aiming for. And then second, our other aim, it's been really clear to us as we move through this program, and I'm sure it's been clear to folks within CNMA as well, that we just don't have enough space to develop BIPOC community within California midwifery. And so as we're doing this, we're finding that the mentors are so excited to just be in community and sharing space with other BIPOC midwives. And we're wanting to build up that aspect and create networking, not only between the mentees and mentors, but mentor to mentor. And finally, we want to loop in those BIPOC individuals exploring midwifery, and we're going to be hosting panels led by some of our BIPOC midwifery students to outreach to folks exploring midwifery and answer their questions about what it's like as a midwifery student and some of the reasons that they chose the paths that they chose. Of important note, our program does pay mentors for their time. This is something that has been set early on as a important imperative for us. If we're going to be sustainable, we believe that we have to help the people who are involved to sustain their involvement as well. And students also, we're at academic institutions. We're constantly evaluating how things are going, doing quality improvement, and we're providing students some stipend for their time in aiding us with that quality improvement. Now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Asmara.
Thank you, Kim. And thank you all for joining in and listening to this amazing work we've been working over the last year. So I just want to share the commitment and the purpose of the project here. So the program is committed to mentoring community building, as Kim mentioned, and fostering meaningful relationships and experiences for the students and the greater midwifery community in California. We've had so many folks jump in and share like they have not held space with other BIPOC midwives in California. So just understanding like what that means for us in 2021 is huge, and we're so grateful to be a part of that and be committed to investing time and energy around that. This program promotes structured support along the way of each individual's educational journey and elevates their experience along the way. And though it's supporting their educational experience, it's not married to that itself. So we're specifically just focusing and centering them versus the goals of the institution itself. So that's really important as well. And our purpose is to increase the number of BIPOC midwives in California's workforce. Honestly, this is a need that we all see is crucially important at this time, and I'll dive into that a bit more. But again, also strengthening the social and professional support systems for our students and our practicing midwives. And so the importance of this program, and this is not just an important piece for our program specifically, but just in California, nationally, internationally, we can go on and say as well, as we're clear that there's extreme disparities impacting our communities and our sexual and reproductive health outcomes, especially birth. And we know with all the added attention in this last year or two and dissemination of information, how it's impacting specifically Black birthing individuals and having the highest morbidity and mortality rates in this country, unfortunately. So disparities are huge. In California, if we look, take a closer dive in, we know over 80% of our midwives identify as white. Yet birthing folks make up less than 28% of the folks. So here we have a disconcordance where we have the majority of white folks caring for individuals that they don't share identities with, they don't share cultural backgrounds with, and there's an increased demand on learning that has to take place and desire and time and commitment from an individual that's not accounted for, is not evaluated, and therefore we have outcomes that we see today. Structural health and inequities are deeply rooted within these institutional systems that we have seen played out that continue today, including white supremacy, racism, discrimination, and other forms of marginalization. So this is here. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, and it's really this beautiful work that we're all doing across sectors to really highlight these issues, take notice their importance. But that next piece of what does that action look like? And for us who identify as BIPOC individuals, Black, Indigenous, and folks of color, where's our place in this work? And I just want to take a moment to highlight, it's not our work to fix a system we did not create. It is our work to create systems where we can thrive. And this is part of that work. And diversification's importance, right? We for a long time have heard folks talk about, okay, well, how does that happen? And what's the importance of congruency between cultures and race? And there's been many folks now who have done the work, sat down, done research, but also reviewed the research where we understand that it is not just a thought, it is actually proven that racial and cultural congruency is of value and improving quality of care between a patient and provider throughout the lifespan and throughout different sectors of health. Rediversification of the midwifery workforce and preparing our workforce to be capable to address these disparities is key to improving the health and well-being of our communities. So as educational programs in California, but across the nation, and not just the educational programs itself, but the workforce, our midwifery workforce needs to put this at the forefront in the importance and the value of diversifying our whole workforce from beginning to end. As we think about I shared the piece around in California, how many practicing midwives there are who identify as white. These institutions that we're being trained in are majority white teaching institutions. So for example, when we talk about mentorship, it's an important piece to center us as BIPOC folks because we don't get it passively through the system. in contrary, what we have is institutions and systems that are built to center and empathize and support that experience of a white individual, which a lot of us don't have experience with, and therefore don't have those little nuggets of support along the way, those little check-ins that come in throughout the course, and are left to be individuals navigating the system. I'm sure there's many in the audience, and I can speak for myself, but just when I was in midwifery school in 2017, I was the only person of color in my midwifery class. So we've gone further and are progressing, but it shouldn't just be a one-off year. Like, for example, this year at UCSF, I'm so proud of our selection committee and all the work that it takes to bring in the next cohort of folks that will majority be folks of color. But that should be the norm, because that would reflect the communities that we're serving. Yet it's not, and I hope that we can all partner together to make sure that we make actual impactful change. And I'm honored to be a part of this group where we start here. So thank you. If many of you have read the ACNM Truth and Reconciliation resolution, there's so many of this highlighted that we've known for decades, and it's just been put nicely. What's resonated with our group, and I'm sure so many can sense around like this importance, there's a couple quotes here I'd like to leave you guys with. The overwhelming whiteness within the midwifery educational pipeline reinforces the lack of cultural congruent care between midwives and the clients they serve. Addressing both the historical and current whiteness of midwifery in the United States requires specific and intentional work to disrupt the midwifery educational system. And the educational harm inflicted by having mostly white educators training BIPOC students results in discrimination and biases in the classroom and the clinical setting. These issues are multiple and significant.
Thank you, Asmara. Really happy to be in space with all of you this afternoon. Thanks for being here. So we wanted to give you, sort of a high level bird's eye view of what we've built, since our pilot year, and we're going to be sharing some information with you. I'll be sharing some links in the chat once I'm done with this portion of the slides. But to give you some like a snapshot, our pilot actually launched earlier this year in February 2021 with 7 mentors and 7 mentees. And now, present day, we've actually expanded and we're at 15 mentors and 19 mentees, including Cal State Fullerton. And some of our mentors have 2 assigned mentees. But to just give you a sort of an insight, we've tripled the amount of mentees in the program, so almost tripled. So it's just really exciting stuff. We invite midwives of all credentials to be mentors, and eventually we'd like to expand and include BIPOC individuals studying to be licensed midwives to apply as well. Building community is one of the many priorities of our program, so we wanted to share with you some of the things we've done to accomplish this. One of them being the publication of 2 quarterly newsletters, thanks to our amazing engagement and content specialist, Maritza Franke. We've also increased our social media presence 3-fold due to the creation of Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, thanks to our awesome social media specialist, Marshana Sparks. We have a landing page for our program. It's our website. And that's also going to be included in this list of links that I'm going to provide in the chat for you all. But this is sort of the landing page where you can learn more about our program, the background, and essentially kind of get more info on how to stay engaged. And we've as a team been intentional about thinking about a communication space for our program participants to be involved with. So we've recently launched a Microsoft Teams platform for program participants to be collaborating, communicating, which is really exciting. And, in-person social spaces are coming soon. We're very mindful that we're still in the midst of a global pandemic. So we're working hard on, creating engagement and staying engaged with one another on Zoom, but fingers crossed we'll have in-person social spaces, very soon in the future. And so we've also been doing a lot of outreach as well to ACNM-based mentorship programs to learn about what other mentorship programs are doing and how we can collaborate. And just to give you another snapshot as to our year at a glance, we are doing a lot of different programming. And so this sort of calendar showcases required and optional activities for our participants. Essentially, it's overall programming for the academic year. You can see we have a lot going on, from mentor-led spaces to you know, a lot of different workshops, our quarterly workshops, as well as quarterly group spaces for folks to gather before workshops occur. Our beautiful newsletter, again, led by Maritza. And we've actually, I have a link here that I've just pasted in the chat. If you're interested in subscribing to our listserv, we disseminate these quarterly newsletters, so you can kind of get an idea as to our programming, what we've done this quarter, et cetera. It's really beautiful, lots of color, but most importantly, it gets you an idea of all the wonderful things that we're up to during the quarter. And social media, we all know that social media is just the way to be getting a lot of our information these days, both fortunately and unfortunately. But we have our Instagram, Facebook, and our Twitter, which I've pasted in the chat, ways to stay engaged with us, get insight. We have our Midwife Mondays, which is exciting because we get to spotlight the midwives in our program. And there's just a lot of really wonderful ways to stay connected with us. So we encourage you to subscribe to our various social media channels. And lastly, our website, which again, I've mentioned, and I'm going to paste in the chat here, way to stay connected with us and how to essentially be involved if you are interested. And then we just wanted to share a snapshot with you from our program orientation and workshop from earlier this spring. Lots of participants, but this snapshot kind of just gives you an idea of us coming together for the very first time on Zoom, which was very exciting.
And before we transition to Angela, I just want to say, if you needed any more evidence as to how amazing Lottie is, she's coordinating both posting in the chat and presenting via Zoom. It's pretty, you're amazing, Lottie. Thank you for all you do. Angela.
So thank you everyone for being here today. I am beyond excited to implement this program at Cal State Fullerton. This semester, we've been able to match two students with two mentees with two mentors. And when I introduced the program to the two mentees, they were really excited. They felt that they needed guidance and they needed someone, a safe place they can go to when they need to vent or cry or seek advice. So I was really happy that they got that opportunity. And in the past, I've been the one that tried to mentor BIPOC students in our program, but it's very difficult to be the educator as well as the mentor. And I find that most of the mentees or most of the BIPOC students that I try to mentor can only be as open as telling me just a little bit about their lives, because I'm also their educator. So having this program gives them the opportunity to open up and seek the help and the advice they need. I also believe that having this program at CSUF will improve attrition, will improve graduation and guidance for our students, will improve interest and application from the BIPOC community, and admittance of BIPOC students into our program. That being said, I'd like to read you some quotes from students' perspectives. A student said, "A mentor is someone who still has the ability to tap into the feelings of what it's like to be a student." A mentor says, I remember exactly how you feel right now. Whatever it is that's scaring you, we will address it and we will work through it together. Another student said, a mentor believes in you. They believe you can do this and frequently remind you of this. I will be there for you. Mentoring is a foundational piece of midwifery. This field is born out of community. This is the only way midwifery is sustainable. It's through mentoring, it's through learning from BIPOC midwives that have come before us. So here are some quotes from mentees during a one-on-one check-in. One mentee said, so much is going on in the midwifery program that mentorship makes me feel like I'm being held through the process. Another mentee said, I have a desire to stay grounded in my humanity and that of the communities I am caring for during my educational journey and beyond. Currently, I don't feel preceptors can go there. Education doesn't, and I need that. I am often the one that points out harm to preceptors or it doesn't come up. They are great in many ways, but this is not something that comes up easily. I desire a space to have conversation about experiences, history of medical trauma, and I desire someone who is deeply connected in centering the humanity of these experiences and gets midwifery too. It's such an intimate space that deserves conversation and reflection. I feel mentorship can be a beautiful place to receive this support while navigating education and growing this aspect of staying true to my values that can be carried beyond education. So from mentors during the one-on-one check-in, one mentor said, it's so beautiful. It is exactly 40 years since I was a student at UCSF. At the time, I was one of 3 people of color in the program. Just the fact that it is a 40-year mark, same school, it's a deja vu with added magic of being seasoned and able to be present to provide support during the process. Back in the day, the preceptors were mentors. This did not meet our needs at all. They juggle a lot without added focus to center us in the experiences, specifically emotionally. Now as a mentor, without a role as a preceptor, we get to hold the process, support the mentoring, the maturing and growing and share knowledge. None of the pressure on both sides of being faculty, no grades, none of that. I get to embrace that and it's a blessing for me. Another mentor said, this was not a thing as I was a student. I know how important it is to have the support system, able to share all angles, no filter, no professional relationship, really important. We know how that can be, to not have that. And here is an opportunity to provide that kind of support. Workshops have been really helpful to identify what relationships mean, in which context. Mentorship workshops have been helpful to guide in other mentorship relationships. For example, I also have a mentee in the ACNM and mock mentor program, and I use these skills there too.
Thank you, Angela. I think that the affirmations, bringing in the voices of the mentors and mentees into this space is such an important one to spend some time reflecting on. And so we're going to transition to a panel in just a few moments. We've prepared some questions that I'm going to ask the panelists, and then what I'd love for you all to do is to think about some questions that you have for us and enter them into the chat, and we'll bring them to the panel as well. But before transitioning to the panel, a couple of things. One, want to acknowledge that the mentorship was identified as a need by our BIPOC alumni for many, many, many years. I've been program director since 2012, which kind of blows my mind. I feel like I still just started this yesterday, but there certainly every single year that I've been here, I know that this was an identified need. And so to all the BIPOC alums, we just express our gratitude for you for, shining the light on this and then subsequently helping to support it, keep going as a mentoring program. I want to acknowledge Asmara and the work that she did with BIPOC aspiring midwives, and the folks that were involved both as mentors and the former BIPOC aspiring alums that we have here. That program has really fed into what we're doing, and the mentors that served with BIPOC aspiring have been generous with their time in joining us with MMB. We received significant funding from Yellow Chair Foundation and the California Nurse Midwives Foundation. Thank you to both of those funders for the support of our program to date, and certainly been receiving a lot of directional counseling from California Healthcare Foundation as well, and a lot of mentorship in that space too. So thank you. And I would be remiss to not thank and acknowledge our wonderful mentors and mentees. Thank you. And Dr. Sojobi, acknowledgement and excitement to have you join us on board too. I appreciate that Fullerton has faith in this program, and we're looking forward to that work moving forward. Our ask of the CNMA community is to please help us continuously recruit BIPOC midwives to be mentors. If you are, or if you have a colleague that you work with that identifies as a BIPOC midwife, please send them to the website and they can get in touch with us and we'll loop them into the program. And then finally, end of year, I'm hoping that you all might consider donating and supporting this work. We do on our mentoring webpage have a make a gift button that will send donations directly to support the work that we're doing. So I'm going to stop sharing and we'll move into the panel. And again, please feel free to enter questions into the chat and we'll bring your questions as well. So just give me one moment here. I'm going to adjust my screen. And so we had hoped, there we go. We had hoped that we would be able to have all the panelists on the screen. It's hard for me to know if everyone has a sort of up top, but if you go through your member view, if you're attending online, you can drag the images to the front so that you can see all the panelists at once. Okay, my first question for the panel is actually, Lottie, going to be for you. Lottie, can you describe what your observations have been about as the program has evolved and what you see as areas that we're strong in and areas that we're trying to grow in?
Thank you, Kim, for the question. I've been taking some time, to reflect on this question, and I have so many things I'd like to share just with regards to our program strengths and how we've evolved, but I know that we're limited on time here, so I'm just going to share some highlights to what I think would be important to include during this time. And it's incredible to see, I think, firstly, the growth of this program in such a short amount of time. Again, I had quickly mentioned that the size of our mentee group now has almost tripled in size from the pilot year to today. And the size of our mentors has doubled. And so I think there is something to be said about the incredible growth and how quickly that's happened. And I think that is a testament to how excited and encouraged and committed folks are to seeing this program grow and to continue having momentum and getting stronger. Folks are wanting to be involved, which is exciting. And I think by the same token, our team, we are so intentional about speaking about the power of collaboration. And so to me, seeing this expansion now, now we have Dr. Angela Sojobi involved Cal State Fullerton folks, in addition to now we're adding this sort of outreach element as well with BIPOC aspiring midwives. And so I think there's just a lot of that excitement is translating into other folks wanting to collaborate and like be a part of this program, which again, I'm using the word excitement a lot, but it's very exciting. I think there's a lot of interest from members of the community to get involved, not just program participants, mentors and mentees, but folks from all parts of the community who are wanting to contribute in some way, which is heartwarming and also, I think, a testament to how important this work is. And I think the program is so unique in a lot of ways, but again, I think what's important to our team, and this is something Asmara had highlighted earlier in the presentation, but increasing the number of BIPOC midwives in California who are entering the workforce. I mean, this is a unique and also important part of our program, and we wish that there were more programs like this out here. But we're excited that we're here to be getting folks involved who understand the importance of rediversifying the midwifery workforce, not just in California, but nationally as well. And I think the last thing I wanted to say, just in terms of some of the program strengths, I mean, I think the fact that we are so intentional about payment and paying our mentors and also providing stipends for our mentees, there is a value on time and emotional labor and labor in general that I think this program really prioritizes. So I think those are just some of the strengths. Again, like I said, I could be sitting here all day talking about what I think is strong about this program and the team. And I think some areas that we've been quickly learning, and I think areas there's potential for growth. Our team consistently meets to reflect and discuss ways to grow from what we've been learning. And as we continue to build the program, I think this is kind of a detailed observation, but we're quickly learning the importance of planning our activities in advance to get folks like a calendar of events so that they know what to expect for the next 9 to 11 months. Again, I think there's a respect for time that we have, and we're learning that there is a value in sharing with participants what the year is going to look like. So I think that's an area of growth that I think we've recognized, and we are actively pursuing getting things on the calendar so that folks are looped in and we have things planned out for the next 12 months. I'd love to hear if there are other folks' observations, but I think that's just some of mine at the moment.
Thanks, Lottie. Yeah, I don't know if there's any harder job than trying to schedule busy midwives and busy midwifery students to join a single workshop. So yeah, thank you for that. I'd love to hear from our student midwifery staff members, Marshana and Maritza. I'm curious, from your perspective and sort of knowing how the program works on the back end, what do you see as the benefit to learners of the program?
I can jump in. Thanks, Kim. First, I want to express gratitude for being here. This is my first ACNM conference, so I'm excited to be here, but also share my perspective as a student, because while I'm on this beautiful team, I'm a student first. And I think one of the major benefits is having a mentor who can sort of be a confidant for me and for the rest of the students, because while I have faith that the faculty has our best interest at heart, a lot of the faculty does not look like me, does not identify as a Black Latina. And so I appreciate being able to share space and have a sort of support and confidant from a BIPOC midwife. So I think that's one of like the key benefits to this program. I think there's also a really beautiful thing about having a greater access to BIPOC midwives and a greater network that we have outside of just the midwives we meet in, you know, as part of faculty or part of our clinical experience. So having access to that greater network helps, you know, at least in my perspective, I'm always thinking about, you know, what does practicing after graduation look like? And I think having that network is going to be really important and key toward my success in the future as a practicing midwife. And then lastly, I want to share, I think being able to participate and give back by being a panel or providing support to BIPOC aspiring midwives is really valuable. I've benefited so much from that support myself. And I just think it's my duty to like give that back and provide that sort of support that I received because it has gotten me where I am today. And I'm really proud and grateful for that.
Thank you, Maritza. Marshana, what are your thoughts about what makes this, what are the benefits to learners?
I just want to second all that Maritza said, but also just that mentorship works, and it's definitely needed. And I had the opportunity to actually attend the CNMA meeting a couple of years ago, just as someone trying to get into a program. And the fact that now this year I'm in midwifery school, I was able to have mentors to support me and go through it. It's just like an emotional experience just to be here and just to see my transition. The work is definitely needed and we get so much out of it just to see the representation of like people who look out like us and understand our stories and our struggles. Try not to get emotional, but it's just such a beautiful thing and it's definitely needed. And people are just taking the time to support us and take us under our wings. And we're just reminded that we can do it because we see other people doing it. And it's just that push we need when it gets tough and we want to give up. So.
Thank you so much, Marshana. Really powerful. Lottie, so one thing that I didn't share earlier is that Lottie is also the program analyst. She supports the midwifery education program as a whole beyond just the midwifery mentoring program. And so Lottie, I'm curious, you know, since you wear both hats, if you have other thoughts to add to that about the benefits to learners from where you are.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. You know, it's a great question because it's like I immediately think about how the folks who are in the midwifery mentoring and belonging program, just the feedback that I get from them in general, whether it's about the program, the mentoring program or just kind of their day-to-day, I'm just seeing I see folks sharing so much gratitude that the program exists. And it's actually not just from folks who are currently in their first year or second year in the midwifery program, but even potential applicants who are doing outreach to us and asking about UCSF in general, who are interested in learning more about this program, saying that they wish that they had this program at their school for actually for undergraduate, but also folks who already have their RN reaching out to us, just saying like how exciting it is that this program is housed with us, and a sort of appreciation already for getting involved and wanting to be involved as first year students. So I think in general, I'm seeing, again, that word excitement, but a deep appreciation because this is sorely lacking, and it's lacking at all the institutions that our potential applicants are coming from, and then our admitted students are coming from. And so our current students, I think, there is a lot of them express the deep connection that they have with the mentor that they've been assigned to, but also like folks who are coming to us, there is I guess, transparency they feel like they can have with us. Like about their mentor-mentee relationship, which I think is special. They can come to our staff and discuss just continuous ways to improve. And that comfort, I think, is very unique.
Thank you, Lottie. Asmara, this next question is for you. You had the benefit of having one-to-one meeting space with both the mentees and the mentors. And I'd love to hear, what do you think are the benefits to mentors?
I want to speak, but I'm still kind of emotional right now hearing all of this. So sorry if I get all choked up. I think one of the biggest pieces in holding space with each person and just listening, like the amount of healing we all get from this. Like, I don't know how to capture that in a beautiful paragraph to highlight, but I can just name it as healing. And I think specifically, we haven't highlighted a beautiful human who has supported us along this journey, who is Nalidi Saul from UCSF Office of Career and Professional Development, who's actually mentored us a lot along this journey and really identifying what mentorship is. I mean, a lot of us who practice, whether we identify as BIPOC or not, and whatever profession we're involved in, we can clearly understand that there is a lack of shared understanding on what mentorship actually means. And she's really supported us in navigating how we communicate about what this program actually encompasses when we say mentorship, and clearly defining that within our team to be in alignment with how we proceed and moving forward, and have a shared understanding with every participant. So for mentees to mentors, really being clear on what mentorship means, and then how to navigate a relationship in mentorship. Again, oftentimes we're put into relationships. We seek to provide support. Like, for example, I've now been practicing, so I want to support somebody because I didn't have this when I was a student. But the understanding of the mentorship role has not been clearly defined to support someone like me, for example, who would want to provide that support. So though our intentions are well aligned with where we want to go, there's a lack of support and structure to navigate that journey. And that's something we've been able to provide and cultivate through our workshops. So navigating what the stages of a relationship are, what communication will look like, what tools to use to succeed in navigating the goals of the mentee and centering those goals, and how we identify our strengths as mentors and know where our strengths don't lie and what resources we have. And having a program that supports all of that, provides a platform to communicate and a structure to hold space, allows for the enjoyment of the process. So that's something I've benefited from in listening to the mentors. There's so much support built into this program where it leads to enjoyment and fulfillment and looking forward to and participation. And I see the contrast in spaces where we don't have that, and there's burnout, there's fatigue, there's a feeling of a disconnect. I'm not sure if I can do it, and a lack of clarity around like what our goals are and so forth. And so I think that's the biggest piece I've noticed is the structural component, the shared goals and alignment, the transparency on what mentorship looks like, and that training through workshops that supports both the mentee and the mentor has been essential. And then the last piece I also notice is the skill set that are taught within the workshops and that we co-facilitate in our peer spaces by sharing information. They're transferable, y'all. It's not just this experience with the mentee. That midwife now is collecting tools that she can practice in her clinical setting. And she might not be mentoring her preceptee, right? Or they might not be mentoring their preceptee, but they have a tool set to then utilize and identify how to support the needs of this individual student on their journey as a preceptee, and be able to utilize those portions. Then there's a new midwife being hired, so that mentor can now have skill sets on like how to focus as individuals' goals as a shared practice and how to support that on a day-to-day as they're interacting, and feel clearly clear in the alignment of like where their place is versus like the confusion that can sometimes come, as mentioned by Angela. When someone holds so many different hats in a practice setting, it becomes challenging to be able to provide so many different resources as one human, right? And so it's something that this program does really well, is just being able to identify where our place is, where those boundaries lie, and be able to support healthy relationships that benefit the individual, but most importantly, our community.
Thank you, Asmara. I have one more question, and Angela, this question is for you. Angela, can you share with us why you think this is important to expand?
Well, as we've all mentioned, and I think it was Asmara, that there are numerous studies that show that mentoring and mentorship works. And we also know that we need to diversify the midwifery workforce. We need to have people that look like the patients we're seeing, see them. I know that when I go in for my medical appointments and I see someone like me, it helps me relax. It helps me open up. It helps me connect a little better than if they weren't. It's just a fact. Additionally, anywhere we are, when we see people that look like us, it makes us feel better. We achieve better. When I was studying midwifery, I didn't know another African-American or Black midwife. I thought I was the only one, but I wanted it so badly because that's what I did before I moved to the United States. So I forged along, dealing with all the roadblocks by myself because I didn't have anybody else to reach out to. So now having this program and knowing that people like me back then can now reach out to somebody and have somebody guide them through their career is just beyond something that it's invaluable. I have no words to describe how wonderfully it makes me feel to think that there'll be somebody there guiding BIPOC students through their midwifery career. We know, or studies have shown, and it's been acknowledged, that midwifery service will improve disparities, will improve at least perinatal outcome, amongst other things. So we need to produce more BIPOC midwives. What a better way to do it than to make sure that we have mentors that can guide the few BIPOC students that there are. And these students are now going to practice in the workforce. Other people are going to see that, oh yeah, this is something I can do too, thereby improving the amount of BIPOC students or BIPOC midwives in the communities. So this is really, really important to grow this program throughout the United States and include more BIPOC students, produce more BIPOC midwives.
Thank you, Angela. I just want to say, express deep gratitude to the entire panel, to our entire team. I am speaking from a place of great sincerity and saying that this is some of the most inspiring and fulfilling, most meaningful work that I've been able to engage in as a midwife. And I'm grateful for your collegiality and wisdom. So thank you for that. We had a couple of questions that were entered into the chat, and they're both about expansion for students that are California-based, but part of the distance learning programs. And I know that this has been an area of great outreach for CNMA too, to welcome the students that are from distance programs. And I think that we would like to see this expand, across the country. Eventually, we know that there are other mentoring programs that have some similarity and overlap, like the ACN Midwives of Color mentoring program for distance. And we're trying to figure out still, as we expand locally, how do we how do we expand to include a broader set of students within California, as well as bring it to other universities? And I think that this is, as a wise colleague of ours mentioned, we have to stage things appropriately before we kind of lose track of all the in-between interim steps. So just to say, yes, expansion is on the horizon as part of our vision, and moving to include other California-based students from distance programs or engaging with the education programs directly is something that we're trying to figure out. I don't know if my colleagues want to add anything to that.
Thank you, Kim. And I want to add, part of starting this program, we recognize we are certified nurse midwives. We have certified nurse midwifery training. When we created this program, understanding that, and then seeing the applicants come in and having licensed midwives join us and be mentors, which has been just mind-blowing how much that is supportive for folks who are interested in community-based midwifery care, to have mentors who have that level of expertise and experience. But we do want to name the fact that we are not the experts for to become a certified professional midwife. And so therefore, for us to lead that work in unison with what we have now would be a disservice to the abundance of resource and ancestral wisdom and knowledge that our midwives have in our community. So ideally, for that to take place, we need to partner with an institution who provides certification and training for licensed midwives, so that we can do this in an intentional manner instead of taking ownership for a level of expertise we actually don't have background in. So I just want to name that and appreciate the piece around this, and we need to move in that direction. But it would really take that piece of making sure that it's the adequate leaders in that space.
Thank you, Asmara. So we have a few more minutes, and I'd love to open it up to other questions. Either unmute yourself for the question or throw it into the chat. Well, we might end a few minutes early if there aren't any other questions. Jillian, are there any there live?
I have one thing. This is Paris. I don't know if you can hear us. So I'm super excited about this program, and hearing your stated desire to figure out how to make sure that all student and aspiring midwives have access to mentorship, especially for our BIPOC student and aspiring midwives. One of the things that I'm hoping with our new midwifery workforce development and educational support committee is that we can help to be strategic in supporting the work that you're doing and helping to recruit BIPOC mentors, as well as to help with coordinating. I know that Frontier has a mentoring program. I don't know if Georgetown does as well, but helping to bring midwives in the state who need connection to those programs, to make those connections. I just wanted to, I guess, add that I'm excited about this, and this is something I'm hoping that we can help to amplify it in any way possible. I mean, not only through having you present the work at the meeting, but actual work as well. Just let us know.
Thank you, Paris. Just in terms of actual work, I want to acknowledge too, this is one project of many to help support midwifery workforce diversification. Another opportunity that I wanted to very, very briefly share with folks is that if you are precepting midwifery learners or other learners for that matter, but we're focused on midwifery learners here. We also have a preceptor workshop to address racial bias in the clinical learning environment. And that's, again, another way in which we can help improve the experience of BIPOC identified learners. We were initially planning to offer that workshop tomorrow, but it was canceled, and just wanted to make you all aware that we're going to be applying for ACNM in May to provide that training there and then also through UCSF Center for Faculty Educators. So when those are announced, if they are finalized, we'll send those to the CNMA newsletter so that you have the option to participating in that mechanism too. So with that, I'm just going to say again, thank you to all of the MMB team, and thank you to CNMA for inviting us to present. We're grateful to you all as our community and really look forward to working together. And don't forget, if you're looking for a holiday fundraising opportunity, you can go to midwifementoring.ucsf.edu for donations. Take good care. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all for joining us and for being with us in community. A quick word from Emily, our single membership committee member, quickly before our break.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. As Jillian said, my name is Emily Carter. I'm the membership chair of CNMA. So I just wanted to make a quick announcement / reminder that, I know many of you are already members, but for those of you who aren't members or who maybe have let your membership lapse, I just really want to encourage you to join or to rejoin, because our membership dues are our main source of revenue, and all of this amazing, inspiring work that we've done throughout the years that has been displayed today, we have to pay for this. A lot of this stuff is not free. So please consider joining or renewing. Visit cnma.org or acnm actually.org, and you are able to join ACNM and then the CNMA affiliate there. And then the second announcement that I have is just a solicitation for some help with the Bay Area chapter. We are in need of somebody to take over as the chapter chair there and to take over the leadership role. So if anybody is in the Bay Area that is interested or knows somebody that you think might be interested, please, you can just email me at membership@cnma.org, and I will point you in the right direction. So please, please consider that, because it's a really fulfilling role. It's so fun to be a part of that, to be involved with your local chapter. It's just really rewarding. So please consider that. Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. Okay, everyone. Quick break. We'll resume at 3:15 with our treasurer update, which will give us more information about how your membership, how your coming to the annual meeting impacts the things that we, as an organization, are needing to pay for on an annual basis. So we'll be back in about 10 minutes or so. All right, everyone, being the stickler for time that I am so that I don't waste any of yours, I would like us to move on now to Elizabeth Smith.